support will be beating the 1,500 mark. And it'll be a huge show. We'll be taking 12 halls at the World Trade Center. And we'll be all filled with exhibitors from all around the world. Last year we had exhibitors from 58 countries, and this year hopefully we'll get close to 60. We have one more gentleman as speaker. He's on his way. Today is a rainy day in Dubai. It's hard to say that normally. Never hear that, but I guess it's inspiring in the end of the day. It's a good thing. So thanks again for your time. And what I would like to start with our agenda. If you can see is that we'll have some short presentations, and we'll have questions and answers after that. And then we'll have lunch. And within lunch, you'll also have network session, which you can be able to mingle with your colleagues. When we have thought about the Automechanika network, is the fact that at the show we are very busy. We don't get time to speak to each other, to spend quality time. So what we wanted to do is to have 2 occasions out of the show where you can get together and you can speak to your fellow colleagues, get to know us better, get to see our office. We are very happy to host you in our office as well. This is the first time we hold it here. Normally we have it in the H Hotel, but we said, why not? Let's share our office with you, because your success is our success. And I'd like to introduce you the speakers. Mr. Subhash Joshi is the senior analyst from Frost & Sullivan. And I'd like to also, well, Mr. Sam Kellogg is the head of African Desk, business development manager at Starlight Airlines. He's going to be with me. And Mr. Hans van der Speck is business manager from Intertron. Thank you for being here. Well, we all know Automechanika is by now. We're the largest in the Middle East for its kind for automotive aftermarket industry. We are now the main show within this region. And we're also looking into hopefully expanding within the region as well at some point. As you remember the last time, what we had was 1,482 exhibitors in 2013, and hopefully within 2014 we'll be bringing them. And visitor-wise, we had 4,141 trade visitors from 130 countries, and again, hopefully we'll be having a lot more this year. And this is the number of visitors from Africa. Since we had to ask you, which topic would you like to hear more? Which region would you like to hear more about? And when we asked about CIS, about Europe, about Southeast Asia, 60% of our, let's say, the survey respondents have responded for Africa. So we said that the second time we have to cover Africa. The first time was never enough. So I guess the second time, maybe it'll be the third time in China. So as you can see, we had over the years, from 2010, we had 865 visitors from Africa. Last year we had 2,256. That's a 161% increase over 4 years. And the visiting countries from Africa, as you can see, is also the number of countries are a lot, from 33 countries up to 43 countries now. Just before we go into our main speakers, I'd like to give you a little bit of reminders about the show, just in case that, so you don't miss your deadlines. Of course, your online executive manual, your catalog entry, and your operational deadlines are all end of April. So please make sure that you contact Mark if you're missing your username and login, or if any information needed, please make sure you talk to Mark. And then we have the, sorry, it's a very good support, yes. And he's dealing with more than 1,500 executives. That's quite a hefty job. And of course, we have the PD portal. As you know, the PD portal is an online platform where you can create tools that you can send it to your colleagues, to your customers, to your other visitors who will be meeting at the show. So you can create things like email signature banners, personalized e-cards, customized printed invitations. I want to really talk about this one. The deadline for this is by the end of this month, so you literally have a couple of days. So please make sure to log in with your own username and password. You don't have to use your operations manual username and password. And please create this. You can write your company name, you can put your logo of your company here, you can put some text as well. And again, we'll print it for you free of charge, we'll provide it to you, and then you can send it to your own address. You can create banners. And of course, we have our public relations department, where you can send us statistics, data, product launches, any information you want to send, any deals with new distributors, testimonials, codes, please speak to someone. And she will be able to place these in our press releases, in our press kits. And of course, sponsorship. We have a lot of sponsorship opportunities at the show, online and on site. These are our, let's say, sponsors so far. And of course, there are more available, also customized ones. So please definitely speak to Mr. Arthur Tolentino for that. And at accounts, of course, is Mr. Sanish Mohammed. That's for accounts receivable. You can always speak to him. And fair construction, as you know, in 2012 we have started a new department within the company, which you can, do your designs of your stands, or also you can do custom build. We can do cabin upgrades for some, of course, and we can do regular shell schemes as well. And Mrs. Venona Parks is your contact for that. And we started our travel desk last year as well. And you can do your hotel reservations, flight bookings, tour packages, visa assistance through Mrs. Diana Rizal. And by next week, you will receive an email. We'll be looking for papers. We'll be doing a call for papers for different sessions within the show. The first one, of course, the marketing side, where Dubai customers will be presenting numbers. But all the sections within the show will be covered, as you know, through the academy. And we are looking for papers. So if you're interested, please send us your paper, and we'll see if you would like to go ahead with one of the sessions. And Mr. Abdul Rahman Kurdi will be the right person for that. And then business matchmaking. We have done a very little pilot study last year for two sections within the show. We did it for repair maintenance and accessories and tuning. So what we are doing is we have an online platform. I'm not going to get involved very much with this. However, you will receive an email where you can have access to this online platform where you'll place your products, and the pre-registered visitors will have the same access to this. And there will be a business matchmaking, and you'll be able to meet the right people at the show. So please take advantage. Again, free of charge. Please take advantage of that. Within 2 weeks, you'll receive an email reminder. I know we send a lot of emails, but we have to. Of course, Mr. Franklin is copying. We work with Business Owners Protection Group, Brands Owners Protection Group, I'm sorry. And of course, my Rowland is an on-site law firm for your needs of copyright infringement, any problems with any patent, you can always discuss with them. There's another email coming to you from them. And this will be regarding, there's an online platform from Meyer & Rowland where you can upload documents of your products in order to use it during the show. So on site you'll have availability. So I would like to now give the microphone to Mr. Subhash Joshi. So thank you for your time again, and I appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Vadi. I'm Subhash from Frost & Sullivan. We are a consulting company and knowledge partner with Automechanika. Today, I'm presenting a very short presentation, 5-6 slides, just a teaser on Africa market. I will be more focused on numbers, talking about UIOs, talking about the spare part market, talking about per vehicle repair cost, and when it comes to the distribution structure, how it looks like from simplicity to the complexity. And let us start with this. Foundation for the future. So we'll be coming up with a detailed white paper in the Automechanika Academy, and there we'll talk about all those points in detail. The key countries which we are covering in this presentation, from the North African as well as Sub-Saharan part of it, it includes Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, and also Tunisia, which is not there, and about 12 countries from the Sub-Saharan part of it. I have excluded South Africa, which is because that's already a developed market. So talking about the developing market and some of the underdeveloped market in the Africa today. completely focuses on passenger vehicle and spare part. Doesn't include commercial vehicle as of now. When I say commercial vehicle, it's 3 and 5 ton GVW and above, including LCV, MCV, and HCV categories, which is not included in this study as of now. But in our white paper, we will include commercial vehicle as well. So when we talk about the overall number of the UIO, we are talking about almost 21.6 million vehicles which are there on road in African continent. Now, the interesting part of it, there are 4 countries and 3 of them are in North Africa, which accounts for the maximum for it. The key country which most of the people doesn't know is Nigeria, the largest vehicle park. If I talk about the new vehicle sales, it's very less. Last year they sold about 44,000 vehicles. But if I talk about the overall vehicle sales, it was 400,000. Most of them were used, imported. That's why on the UIU, you will see Nigeria is a very big market. The interesting part of it, you can see a 35, 40-year vehicle running on road in most of those sub-Saharan countries, especially in Nigeria, especially in some countries like Zambia, Botswana. So the age breakup of those vehicles above 16 years is as high as 54%, which is, I don't think so, present anywhere globally apart from some of the CIS countries. So mostly you will see that 70-75% vehicles are under 12 years of age, but here most of the vehicles are above 16 years, which is good for spare part companies, isn't it? What it means for spare part? What would be the volume of spare part which is getting supplied every year? And all those numbers are for 2013. Talking about 2013 here. Almost 7.68 billion of spare parts sold, consumed in these African countries, and this doesn't include tires and batteries. It's just pure spare parts. Just pure spare parts. Again, when we talk about these, there is a slight change in the numbers. If you look at the per vehicle parts consumption in North Africa, it is almost $423 per vehicle per year, which is slightly lower than some of the developed countries, but in sub-Saharan countries, it is as low as $285 per vehicle. So the difference comes from there. Even the northern part has higher UIO, but sub-Saharan part has higher UIO, but in terms of value for spare parts, it's lower. So we can clearly see 4.65 billion coming from North Africa, and about 3.03 billion is coming from sub-Saharan part of it, excluding South Africa. The key countries again, the Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and Nigeria. Put together, these countries contributes roughly 60-65% of the overall volume consumption of spare parts. Again, the per vehicle repair cost in Egypt is $392. In Algeria and Morocco, it is highest, for $490 and $465. At the same time, in Nigeria, it is only $251 per vehicle. That's where the crux is when we go to sub-Saharan countries. Now, what it means for the, let's say, if we talk about the distribution structure, how it looks like, at overall level, when we compare it with the global countries, with other countries, we talk about 3 levels of structure: the product level, the wholesale level, and the repair level. In product level, when I'm talking about car assembler versus component, we need to understand there are very few assembly plants limited to North African part of it, and it's only account for 10%. Globally, it is between 25 to 30%, but here it's just 10%. We're talking about here. And wholesale level, the OES distributor. When I say OES distributor, the part which is coming through a vehicle dealer or through a manufacturer of a component, it's going to vehicles. It is 25 to 30%, and wholesale is very high, 70 to 75%. Here, the authorized vehicle dealer is just 40-45%, and they are also buying from the wholesalers. When I say wholesaler, there are a lot of cases in sub-Saharan countries that some of them are not the genuine parts. So whoever is dealing in Africa, they will definitely face this problem. Dealers also sometimes doesn't deal into genuine parts. That's very evident from the market surveys we have in that part of the world. Again, independent repairers is just 55 to 60%. When we talk about the grey channel, We are talking about 8 channels which are followed in the African countries. Few of them are similar to the global market, and grey channel accounts for almost 55 to 60% of the part supply. And if I put numbers towards the spurious and fake part, it will be more than 35%. It's a big market. We are talking about 8 channels, 4 to 5 channels are authorized one. The interesting channel in the unauthorized one, we are talking about the fake part and the domestic parts. When I say domestic part, let's take an example of Korean companies. They have their offices in Africa, but the parts which are coming, they are not coming through that route. It is coming from Korea to Africa, genuine parts, but sold at much lesser prices. And there they are making a lot of losses in this market. So, and we also have part integrators. A lot of companies who buy it from various countries, integrate it, send it to Africa. They don't even have offices in Africa, but they send it there. So, a lot of trade which is happening. And a difficult market, but there are ways of doing business here. There are a lot of large business houses who are already present in this market, and they are making good money. The one business house which I know, they are making almost $6 billion every year in just automotive trading. We have those kind of business houses there. Just a teaser document, and we'll talk about more in the academy session, and between I will be sending few inputs on this to Ghazi, shared with the audience here. Thank you so much for your time. I think I have time,
The questions will be taken right after Mr. Hans and Mr. San's presentations. So thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. So, Mr. Hans.
Yes.
You have the microphone.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I represent what you call the companies operating in Africa. Tell you a little bit about our experiences in Africa, establishing in Africa, dealing with the problems in Africa. If you look at Africa, you listen to the stories, you hear about the nature, the wild animals, the tribes, the beautiful things to see. On the business side, you hear about corruption, bribes, etc. I won't go into that. I just tell you our own experiences. Being on the ground in Africa means that you truly start realizing what country it is. You see the beauty, you see the possibilities for tourism, but you also see the drive of the people to grow their countries and to create a future for their children. Africa is growing in a rapid pace, and I think we have to catch up. With so many landlocked countries in Africa, transport is of vital importance. Although roads are far from perfect, stuffed with potholes and some you can even call craters, it makes it difficult to move from one part to the other. Especially at night, transport is very difficult. You have vehicles, damaged vehicles on the road, other obstacles which could damage your vehicle. One of the drivers in Nairobi explained me, on a trip from Nairobi to Kampala, he would use on average 5 to 6 airbags. Because of the potholes he is endangering. Every time he blew an airbag and he had to replace the airbag on site to move on. Because like we see here in the UAE that most of the things are on leaf springs, in Africa already we are on air springs. Although the infrastructure is much worse. Through the years the fleet in Africa has grown. At this moment there are some fleet owners with 3,000 vehicles or more, heavy vehicles. operating throughout Central Africa, the landlocked regions. And the fleet is slowly but gradually modernizing. We see the modern Mercedeses, we see the new Volvos, we see the Scanias. The Chinese trucks are there, which is a challenge by itself. And establishing your company there is challenging. It is challenging in the UAE, but in Africa it's even more challenging. The paperwork they demand from you, even if you want to open a bank account and you are part of a group company with a holding company, etc. Every part of the group, every director of the group has to be registered with this bank, with his name, with his personal address, all to safeguard that we have schemes of shifting money around without official knowing. By learning the hard way, you bring in your goods to Africa, you fill a container, you deliver it to Africa, and then you find out, okay, I should have done SGS, I should have done pre-inspections, I should have done certificates of origin. So those things you realize. Then you see a small mistake of a shipping line in a manifest, where your container starts to be stuck in port for about a month or month and a half. So what is vital in Africa is having the right forwarder with feet on the ground, preferably OEA approved, so that he has direct access to the customs, direct access to the revenue authorities. Revenue authorities is the next issue. If you see it, the revenue authorities are very stringent. Your import duties, your VAT, checking on your sales, but also checking on your sales on the other side. So going to your customer, asking for the invoices, asking for the payment slips, comparing, balancing. And one of the nicest things in Kenya is that the revenue authority in Kenya is rewarding their inspectors with bonuses if they bring up bad cases. Let me say it like this. Well, that is basically what I can tell of our experiences in Africa. The only thing we really can do is be on the ground and doing our day-to-day business. Thank you very much.
Now we can take some questions, and once the gentleman arrives, he can also be his own presentation. But please, if you have any questions, now is the best time.
Question on the UIO. How do you calculate that? Is it total population or the last 30 years, or how is it? Or is it because it's a different calculation?
It's very country specific.
Yeah.
Let me compare it with GCC, then with North Africa, and then with Sub-Saharan. So when we talk about the GCC region, here we very closely work with the government in most of these countries. So what we understand is the registration which is happening, and in this registration we take care of the vehicles which are getting exported. Number one. Number two, what is the salvage ratio which is happening, and how many vehicles are getting replaced every year. So it takes into account the new vehicle sales and the old vehicle sales, which is very easy way of doing it in this market, and to some extent in North Africa as well. But when we go to Sub-Saharan country, it is more based on our last 20-year data, because as I've seen on road in Africa, they will buy an engine from somewhere, a body from somewhere, and the car shape would be like this, and it's running on the road from last 30-35 years. It becomes very difficult for us. So we do a 80% estimate for the life of the vehicle till 16 years, 1 to 16 years, and then we take a salvage ratio which is very high, in the range of 14 to 15% every year for 16-year old vehicle, and then we exclude it from the market. We cross-check it with the vehicle ownership per thousand and we cross-check it with the local government authorities. Their data is not, I would say, it's not managed properly. There's a lot of difficulties there. So when I talk about the UIO, my confidence level is 80%. But when I talk about the UIO of GCC, I can tell you 98% confidence level. So this, I would say, it can be in the range of 20 to 25 million as well. We have taken a corrective action to take it to 21.6. That's why I have excluded some of the markets. That's how we calculate it when it comes to the UIO. Because UIO is very important to understand what is happening on the spare part front. Because we need to understand the replacement cycle, then we need to put up a model year-wise here, how much is going to come. Let's say for tire, I would say, we put it by tire sizes, we understand the rim level replacement, and then we put up a cycle. What type of size will have demand in what year? What is the aspect ratio and all? We do all those things. I think I answered.
With regard to the repair cost, it includes parts and the labor for repair and the tires, everything, or what?
No. When I say repair cost, we have there are almost 13,000 parts when I talk about the car, but the 125 parts are there which accounts for 80% of the repair cost. So we have established the replacement cycle for those, and then we have arrived from the UIO what is going to be the replacement. At that point of time, we need to understand the margins which each channel is making in the market, because some of the African market margins are so high. I mean, I can say a vehicle sold in UAE, a dealer will earn 12% margin, but the same vehicle is sold in Africa, he will make 22% margin. And same is replicated for the parts as well. And we understand how much the end consumer is spending on that. That's why the retentionship of the service business for Toyota it's just 17%. For Kia it's 18%. For Honda, which is globally they retain almost 45 to 50% customer, it's just 22% in most of the African countries. So we do a calculation based on the vehicles which are returning to a service station which is authorized and vehicles which are going for in the aftermarket. And there, on the basis of prices, we estimate the per vehicle repair cost, which is excluding labor, excluding tires, excluding batteries, just this spare part cost. If I put labor on that, I can take a ratio of almost, specifically for sub-Saharan countries, of about 18 to 20% of the overall repair cost. But I haven't included labor in this, just purely spare parts.
What's your opinion about potential in the Angolan market? Oh, spare parts?
I have to check with my team because Angola is something which is taken care by a South Africa team. So I will check with them and I'll revert back to you on that.
You know that European truck population details?
Sorry?
European truck. in Africa.
This is only for passenger vehicles.
Passenger vehicles.
Yeah, truck. If I talk about the sub-Saharan part of it, most of the European trucks are used trucks which are getting imported in these countries. Okay, and specifically when we talk about the commercial vehicle, European trucks are into 16 tons and above category, the heavy truck category. There, the population, I can't give you exact number right now, but we have recently published the commercial vehicle report on Africa and sub-Saharan countries. I can check in that and get back to you on that. I'll do that.
Do you have any information with regard to the percentage of diesel vehicle versus the petrol vehicle?
Don't remember the numbers offhand, but we'll talk about after this and I'll give you all the details on that front.
What do you think about the Libyan market?
We are currently not working on the Libyan market to be specific, because our major focus in we started looking at Tunisia as of now, but Libya, it was a growing market 3-4 years back, and now it is coming back to the because a lot of my clients, they are getting into Libya. One of my clients who was a GM dealer in Libya, now they have witnessed almost 40% growth in their sales when it comes to the passenger vehicles. But how the business is happening on the aftermarket front of it, I have to check that.
Last Automechanika exhibition, I saw a lot of distributors from Libya. They want to buy anything, just jumping to the pavilions. What do you have? We want. That's it. So it's not a kind of majority, but you want more statistic or analysis figures that market?
Sure, I'll definitely get back to you. That's going to be and that would help me a lot.
How about the Algerian market?
Very different, self-sustained market, and the biggest problem in Algeria, the strategy which we follow globally completely changes in Algeria, because the models which are sold globally are not that much. If I talk about Hyundai and all, those vehicles are not sold that much. But you have to take care of other OEMs like Piaggio is, I think Peugeot is one which is selling in quantities, and you have other OEMs. So when I talk about the spare parts, the spare part has to be supplied for those models which are not sold in much quantities globally. So, and we have a lot of manufacturing assembling which is happening in Algeria, so self-sustained
But
market.
how about the population of you Korean cars over there at present?
In Algeria?
Yeah.
Don't have my system with me. I'll definitely get back to you. But Algeria, Hyundai was in loss last year. Their market share was dropped by almost 4-5%. This year they are expecting it will again go up, and I think Egypt is almost 12%. Algeria, their UIO has to be somewhere about 14 or 15%. Exact number I have to check and get back to you.
You can just revert back for Hyundai
Sure.
and Kia as well.
What I would request, I'll just share my card with you. If you can just mail me your specific query, I'll give the details to you.
When we talk about UIU, sorry, somebody wants
Sure,
to say,
sure.
sorry. When we talk about UIU,
Mhm.
category-wise, 4x4 vehicles, I'm talking about general Africa.
Mhm.
4x4 vehicles are more, or scheduled vehicles are more?
I will talk about the Central and Western Africa when I'm coming, especially Central Africa, when I'm coming to 4x4 vehicles. Most of it are used vehicles imported in Africa. You will see most of it 4x4. When I go towards down, let's say near South Africa, you will see high amount of sedans which is sold in that market because those are new vehicles. But if I talk about Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Angola, Jamia, all these are 4x4. Most of it is 4x4.
Because of the road conditions are not so good.
Infrastructure issues.
One more question, sorry.
Sure.
When we talk about, forget my question.
Mr. Suresh, thank you for presentation. I have one question. Continuing with your presentation, you have separated, as you know, that there are 3-4 segments of the car spare part market. When we say Asian cars and Japanese, European cars and US cars, or North America. Do you have any bifurcation by percentage wise? Which type of vehicles are sold more of the parts in Africa? Of course, Japanese, we know it.
We do have, what I can do,
European vehicles.
after this meeting, I have it ready with me for Egypt, for Morocco, for Algeria. I can share that with you right away. For the African part of it, I have to just go back and check with my team. That's there.
Yeah, same question actually. Just wanted to know the breakdown of percentage Japanese, Korean, and.
From a spare part perspective, this is what is most important because I can't deal in 13,000 parts, and in that I have to segregate that which vehicle is having the maximum cars running on road, and
Korean
on
is
that
most
basis.
important for us, like which
Sure.
Japanese or Americans or. Europeans?
Perfect. But Algeria is not about Japanese. Rest all countries is about
That's
Japanese.
mostly, yeah. Thank you.
What would be the percentage of genuine parts, sorry? What would be the percentage of genuine parts
In Africa,
vis-a-vis the total market share of spare part sales? Generally.
I will exclude North Africa. In sub-Saharan countries, it's just about 40-45%, not more than that. But when I say genuine parts, I have excluded the domestic imports. Domestic import is also genuine, but it is not coming from a genuine channel. It is coming from a grey channel. So those parts, the domestic imports is almost 12-15% of the grey channel. If we want to understand the complete genuine part, it will be again in the range of 50-55. That will be there.
Mr. Hans, in your opinion, your line of work, which African countries in the last 2-3 years have emerged as big buyers for your products?
In the truck business, we must focus on Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambia. Those are the big movers of the last 3-4 years. Uganda has always been there, but Uganda is mostly delivered from Kenya. Sudan, Ethiopia remains two countries with huge fleets and huge demand of spare parts.
I have a question for you. You have any embargo clashes when it comes to North Sudan?
Are there any embargo clashes from this country with Iran? Are there any embargo clashes from this country with any embargo country in the region? Embargoes are there. Embargoes have strict guidelines. Most of the time, agriculture, infrastructural transport, as long as it is not government related, is not under an embargo, because half the country should be fed by the same trucks which need the spare parts. So embargoes are there. We have an embargo for 50 years of the Cuban territory. Cuba is driving 50 years under an embargo and still is selling Coca-Cola, Marlboro, Caterpillar locally. So there are always roads leading to the end user.
I have one for by speaking of the UIO in our operation, just now you mentioned the way of calculating this, which I think could be different from country to country based on the units of calculation. In this point, I have two questions for you. The first one, is there any official record for the UIO? Second, if not, and you base on your calculation, what is the confidence level rate in this?
Sorry,
confidence level, accuracy.
Okay. That's why when we started initially, okay, let me give you one example of the authentic source of the UIO. In my understanding, I would say that Saudi Arabia is one country who manages all the records when it comes to the vehicle sales and the UIO, and we very closely work with the Saudi Arabia government. In fact, we are helping them to put up an assembly plant which would be owned by the Saudi government, and we'll see it coming up in year 2018 with initial 20,000 units going to 20,000 by 2023. So we're working on that. And what happens that there is an organization called NICDP and CDSI. NICDP is the investment body, CDSI is the body who takes all the statical, it's a part of Ministry of Transportation. When we worked with them and we looked at their UIO, they haven't excluded the registration, 18-year-old registration from their numbers. And their numbers was coming 7.8 million. We worked with them very closely and we calculated based on JRD and non-JRD reason. So JRD, the vehicle life is 12 years, doesn't go beyond that, 13 year maximum. Non-JRD reason, which is Jeddah, Riyadh and Dammam, is almost 15-16 years. Based on that, we have understood what is the export ratio, vehicle moving out of the country, what is the salvage ratio, because we also work with the motor insurance companies very closely to understand the accidental rate, the complete loss and how it is working. And the numbers got reduced from 7.8 to 6.25 million when we calculated in the right way. So we do work with the government, but we have our own models to work on it, and it varies country by country depending on the life cycle, depending on the lifespan of the vehicle in that country. I would again say for Africa, accuracy level 80%. I can't say 95%. It's still 80%. Can be 75 as well. Because it's very difficult to calculate the UIO in Africa. I think I answered your first question. The second one was?
Is there any official record for UIO?
Nigeria we do have. Zimbabwe we do have. I think in North Africa is there. With Algeria, Egypt is there. In Nigeria is there, Zimbabwe is there, and I'm not sure about Kenya is there. Other countries we have to calculate.
One question. When we talk about UIO, can we know the breakdown of diesel and gasoline engine, diesel and gasoline vehicles?
that would be a little tricky. I have to check with my team. Has to be there, but let me check.
Because as per the general understanding, diesel and petrol vehicles are almost same level, but still one side will be of course more. So we want to know.
I have to check because wherever we have access to the government bodies, it will be easy to get, but even OEM doesn't know what they are selling in the market. Because I can give you the simple example. The UAE sales of vehicle last year, when I take out all the re-export and everything, it was at 395,000 last year 2013, but we haven't excluded the non-genuine channel re-export. That means there are companies who are buying vehicles from the dealer and exporting it to Iran, Iraq, Nigeria, other countries. It's completely legal. There is nothing illegal in that. Completely legal. But we have to reduce those 60,000 vehicles which has been exported to other market and not been consumed in UAE. So there is no official source, but we work very closely with the industry participant, and that's why we get to know. We understand that market pretty well. I have to check for diesel versus petrol, and I can assure you that for some of the countries like biggest market like Nigeria, we do have, but small countries we again have to make the assumptions. That would be there.
Thank you. Just to recall the number of vehicles registered in Saudi Arabia, it was 7.2.
2011 it was 6.25. I have to check the latest number, but it will be in the range of 7.1 maximum.
Projected
In 2013. Last year they have sold about 600,000 vehicles, which is the new vehicle. So I have to just understand how much was
Is
there.
it only new vehicles or total vehicles?
Everything. UIU means used and new, because the used vehicle import is also at 8 and 9%. When I come to passenger vehicle, commercial vehicle still is completely different. You go to 16 ton and above category, 75 to 80% vehicle are used import. Don't have very stringent, very strong Euro norms. That's why most of the Mercedes vehicles and MAN vehicles from Europe are landing up in Saudi Arabia.
So including those commercials would add up to how much?
I have to check and get back to you.
If there's any statistics, study that would be very beneficial for us. If there's any way to survive.
That's why if I can have your individual questions on an email ID, so what I can do, I can revert back to you with all those numbers. Yeah, that will be easy for me to from the earlier reports and share it with you.
In Africa, there are no direct dealerships. Why mainly exports? When we talk about
It has to do with the regulations, not with the dealership. Okay. What happens that I do have a dealership, but my vehicle price margins are so high that I have an option to go to UAE, buy a vehicle, take it from a grey channel, send it to Ghana, and then import it in Nigeria without paying any duty.
Okay, but in this, there is no restriction over there. The local distributor or doesn't have any restriction or any.
They can't put any restriction. It's not possible for that because you don't go to a government authority to register your vehicle. You buy a registration earlier and then you buy a vehicle. So there is no proper mapping what is happening in the market.
So that means anybody can import and.
There are regulations, there are restrictions. You have to take it through a grey channel only. But it is a huge market. I mean, if I put let me take an example again. Which country is the biggest? Nigeria. 44,000 vehicles were imported new through a genuine channel. But there are another 60,000 vehicles which has come from the grey channel. All were new. A new vehicle which is introduced anywhere in the world, you will see next day coming to Nigeria. The Audi R8, when it was introduced, the first shipment, first new vehicle, it was in Nigeria. Same gate goes there because 1% population controls 95% of GDP. Money is there.
And the last question.
Regarding the grey parts, you said that in Africa there is the consumption of the non-genuine parts around 45%, including that grey part, which is genuine parts coming through the non-genuine channel.
Yes.
So do you have a percentage for that grey parts? What is the percentage of that?
Generalizing that comment on the Africa level will be difficult for me, but I can give you that detail at the country specific level for 4 or 5 major countries, because there is no set mechanism to understand what is coming from which route, but we can always estimate based on our local relation with the companies there. That's the only way. I mean, I can't go to a government body and understand because nothing is documented there. We have to understand from the local companies how they are working in that market.
Are you sure that percentage of non-genuine, only 45%? I believe that non-genuine was going more.
Okay.
I mean, genuine parts
We are,
shares,
as Frost & Sullivan, we are actually present in almost more than 35 countries, and we are working with each and every OEM who exists in the automotive industry globally. So we have relations with Ford, with GM, with Hyundai. When it comes to the component, with Bosch, with any company you name, they are our clients. So we interact with them at the global level to understand what is happening in the local market, how much they are supplying to which market, and what are their understanding of that continent. And from there we build it up. If we talk about the largest business houses in the local countries, we do work with them. In fact, we are restructuring their complete business houses to make them realize their actual money. Because most of the business houses, they are running 40 companies, 20 are profitable, 20 are loss making. We are suggesting them shut down those 20 companies, focus on these 20 companies. Doing a lot of work on that front as well. You name the group, Dana Motors, any Stallions and everything, working with them. So from there our knowledge comes. There is no set route that we can't, government doesn't have the data, some of the statistical body doesn't have the data, so it's from the grassroots. And then we analyze and work on it.
I think because they are calculating according to their vehicle sales, which is coming from the genuine channel. Which is important directly from other sources. I think that's not considered.
Okay. Let me again take an example. I would take few names here. Let's say I take Mobis name, which is manufactured in Korea, most of the parts. So we understand what Mobis is supplying through his distributor in Africa without involving their local office, and what Mobis is supplying through their local office in Africa. We talk to the distributor in Korea, who is the Mobis distributor, and we understand how much shipment is actually sending to the African continent and what is their value. So that's where we understand what is the domestic channel. We do the same thing for AC Delco, for Toyota Gosai, for Nissan parts, for Bosch, for all those parts. So all volume understanding, value understanding. If you want me to put volumes to that, I can't. Difficult for me.
Thank you very much. I guess we should move into the lunch, and we can of course speak over there as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.